Hello and welcome to my version of the try a chapter tag, which I've always kind of wanted to do but doesn't really fit with like my reading style, so I never have. But recently I brought a bunch of my books, well, all of my old books from my parents' house to my current living arrangement, like boxed up like tons and tons of books and brought them here, which meant that I have a lot of books from my childhood now that like some I'm very, very attached to, like they're 100% staying, like things I loved. But it also means I have some middle grade books and YA books that I'm not certain how much I really want them, how much I enjoyed them. Like, I remembered them. I've definitely read all of these, and I remembered them being good, or I remembered liking them, but I don't really remember much about the books themselves. So I have this massive stack of books that are not on my TBR. They're definitely all books that I've read, I think. Maybe like 15-20 years ago, but I'm pretty sure I've read all of these. So what I want to do today is kind of read the first chapter or first few pages and kind of see what I think of them, like if they're books that I want to keep, if they're books that I want to unhaul, or if they're possibly books that like I need to like read fully before I decide if they stay on my shelves or not. So try a chapter tag with a purpose. There are a lot here, but they are like middle grade and I have read them. So for the most part, I'm just like flipping through them, seeing if like I want to keep them, because I don't want to keep an unnecessary like massive stack of books on my shelves if I don't need them. I'm not going to go through all of them now because it is a rather massive stack, but I'll probably like check back in over the next few days. I don't imagine this will take me very long. I say my next check-in will probably be like 3 weeks from now. I finally read something, but I'll check in. I'll probably go through a couple at a time and kind of decide what I'm gonna do with them. But I don't imagine that, like, I don't remember these. Like, what is The Woman in the Wall by Patricia Kindl? Like, I don't remember this. Like, I remember seeing it on my shelf, but like I couldn't possibly tell you what this is about. I'm sure I read it. I probably read it when I was like 8. That was 21 years ago. So I'm just gonna read through all of these, kind of decide what stays, what goes, pass things along to other children who might appreciate them more than I do in my adulthood. So I have finished my first 4 books. So far I have 4 unhauls here, which I hope is not going to be every book that I read for this video, because otherwise it's going to be a very boring video. The first is Shelter Me by Alex McAulay. This is historical fiction YA about a girl during World War II in the London Blitz. Nice bleen. I read the first chapter and it was, of the 4, it was the one I was most considering keeping to like read again and at least see how I feel, but like I wouldn't have read this one all that long ago. Like, I could probably check my reading journal and it would be in there, so I probably read this as a teenager, and like if I don't remember it at all and I've read it that recently, because like I don't usually like forget books completely within the last 10 years, then I clearly like just didn't like it that much, and it wasn't like really drawing me in, so I kind of just figured like we'll pass it along. It wasn't bad. Like, this was fairly enjoyable to read, just, you know, I don't need it. Hitler's Daughter by Jackie French. This is a story of a couple of kids who are waiting for the school bus, and one of them starts telling a story about Hitler's daughter, and it's kind of implied that, like, it might be more than fiction. Which, I like this book when I read it as, like, a kid. I do actually remember reading this one, but, like, reading it now, it just doesn't do anything for me. Like, so I'll pass it along. It's like a fine middle grade book. It's set in Australia, and, like, I think the implication is that the daughter might be, or the girl telling the story might be the granddaughter of Hitler's daughter. But, like, loved it as a kid. As an adult, I don't really have any thoughts. And then I had 2 ballet books. I was super into reading ballet books as a kid. I don't know why. I did ballet, like, for 1 year, and I didn't like it. But I was really into ballet books. So the first is No Way Ballet, A Twist of Fate by Suzanne Weyn. This is the second book in the series. I think No Way Ballet is the series. Middle grade, it's older. This is from the 80s or the 90s. This is 1990. This was probably my sister's in that case, but yeah, I probably enjoyed this as a kid. I probably don't need to have it as an adult. I do remember reading it because I remember, like, the main characters and, like, their names, but I don't remember anything about this book. So reading the first chapter was, like, kind of all I needed of that. And then Please Please Please, this is The Friendship Ring. I think this might also be a series. Yeah, there are 4 books in the Friendship Ring series, and each of them is about one of the friends in the group. Again, this is the only one I had. I read this probably a couple times as a kid, and just rereading it now, like, it was fine. Like, I totally get why I liked it when I was, like, 9, but I don't really have any attachment to this one, so pass it along. It's just about a girl who does ballet, and, like, she's thinking about quitting because she could have, like, more of a normal life if she doesn't have to be, like, super serious about ballet, but, like, she's kind of having some conflict with her mother over that because it's, like, the one thing they bond over. So I don't really remember what happened. So yeah, those are the 4. Unhauling all of them, so some other kid can go enjoy them, but I have that whole stack left to read, so I will continue. Four more books, and I finally have one I'm keeping. Well, not keeping, I want to read it. I don't really remember it well, and I'm just curious where it's gonna go. I was enjoying the chapter that I read, Becoming Chloe by Katherine Hyde. I liked it. I liked what I read. It's a YA about 2 homeless kids and basically what they're doing. Like I said, I only read 1 chapter, so, like, I was, like, 15 pages in, and I was liking it pretty okay, so I'm gonna keep it, read it, and see how I feel about the whole thing, and if I'll, like, keep it permanently. And then I have 3 books from that I'm getting rid of. The first is The Galloping Detective, Book 3, Collision Course by Birch. I didn't actually read the whole chapter on this. It was annoying me. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like what was happening. I was not down. I assume this is like a horse girl book, but also like a detective type book as well. Probably is what it said. She's a detective, I guess, but there was nothing in this that appealed to me. And then I have The Truth or Dare Trap by Nancy J. Hopper, which I do actually remember reading as a child. I think it's a middle grade book or a really young YA book about these group of friends who start playing Truth or Dare, and then it kind of becomes not a good thing. Like, they just go too far, like start daring each other to like steal stuff or like actually do like life-altering things. I vaguely remember reading this, but there was nothing while reading it then that really appealed to me. And then the last book that I got to is The Pack by Elisa Carbone, which I actually feel bad about getting rid of because it's signed to me. 2006, so I'd have been like, what, 13, 14? Probably 13. I vaguely remember getting it signed too, which is cool, but like, I was reading it. It's like this YA book. It's a suspense thriller with a twist, according to the back. I don't know. It's about a girl who goes to, I think, high school. And then she meets a guy who's weird, who's being studied by the National Institute of Health, and he's also British, and like weird things are happening, and just, I don't know. I read the chapter and I didn't really feel inclined to read anymore. And I know I've definitely read this, so like, pass it along. So of the 8 books I've read so far, I'm getting rid of 7 of them. Lovely. Make her move. She's so cute. She doesn't cuddle that much, so I was letting her. I don't know what order I read these in. Girl in Hyacinth Blue by Suzanne Vreeland. I didn't connect with this at all. Like, it seemed like it was fine, like it might be interesting, but just reading it, I just kept like spacing out. Like, this is, I think, World War II, Amsterdam, but also there was like a professor, like these kids at a boarding school. I don't know. To be honest, I just didn't connect with it, so going in the unhaul pile. Then I had From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsburg. I don't like this. Actually, I don't know that I've ever read this. This is one that's been on my list forever, or I mean been on my shelf forever. But I don't like stories about kids running away that are done to be funny or like cute, you know? Like it just makes me uncomfortable. Like if it's done in like a serious way where like a child's running away from trauma or like something has happened, like that's fine. But when it's done to be like funny, it makes me uncomfy, so it's going away. I know this gets so much love. Like I know this was kind of beloved, but I just like I just can't do it. So Backwater by Joan Bauer. This is YA about a girl whose family is full of lawyers, but she doesn't want to be a lawyer. She wants to be a historian. So she is like researching her family tree, and she finds this one aunt who's like a hermit who's gone off the grid. Her whole family is like, she's crazy, and she decides to track down that aunt and kind of find out about her. Have definitely read this. I don't really remember it. Yeah, it was okay. Like I thought about keeping it, but to be honest, it was just a little bit too like over the top, you know, and dramatic. And it was like everyone's a lawyer and they're all super intense about it, but in kind of like a ridiculous way, not in like a realistic way. So I just think not for me. Fine book. I remember feeling like this was okay, but like I don't remember it for a reason, you know. Like this was probably like a 3-star read for me. Like fine, interesting, don't need to keep. Someone else can enjoy it. And then the 3 books I'm keeping. There were 3 that I was keeping from this. Lily's Crossing by Patricia Reilly Giff. I remember reading this. I remember liking it. I don't remember anything about it. This is about a girl in America during World War II whose father goes off to war. She's living with her grandmother, and there's a boy who's a refugee. Yeah, a refugee from Hungary. And she becomes friends with him, and then stuff happens. Don't remember it, but I would like to keep it to at least read it, the whole thing. The Woman in the Wall by Patricia Kindl. This was very ridiculous. This is middle grade. It's about a girl who's like basically invisible. Like not like literally, but like she describes herself as very shy, so she kind of like makes herself like kind of blend in, but in like a ridiculous over the top way, which is not my thing at all. But I honestly like kept reading this for a few pages and I was like, oh no, wait, I need to like move on. But I was really kind of liking it. And apparently like the thing is that like they're trying to make her go to school, so she like starts hiding and no one can find her, and then her family like forgets that she ever existed, and then like years pass until she becomes like an adult, and then like someone slips a note into the wall, I think. I want to read it. I feel like I'm gonna read it and unhaul it, but I would like to read it. It was fun. Like I don't think I'm gonna love it, but it was fun. And then the last thing is Yolanda's Genius by Fenner. This is about a girl who grew up in Chicago, and then after a shooting at her school and her brother, her like 6-year-old brother, receiving drugs on the playground, her mother decides to move them out of Chicago. So it's about her younger brother is like, he doesn't talk much, he can't read, but he creates unbelievable music on their father's old harmonica. So she starts like trying to hype him up and like protect him and make everyone else see that he's like so wonderful and so brilliant, I think. I don't know. But I read the first chapter and really enjoyed it, so would like to continue reading this one. Like I know I have read it, I just don't remember it at all, so we'll reread it and probably enjoy it a lot. So I've added 3 books to my keep pile, which is not that large, so I'm okay with it. I finished the last 2 books. This is The Castle in the Attic by Elizabeth Winthrope. It's about a little boy who receives this castle, and the knight in the castle, like the little toy knight, is alive. And then they go on adventures together, I think. Not my thing. I know this is quite beloved, but like, not my thing. And then the other book that I read is or not that I read, the chapter The Perilous Guard by Elizabeth Marie Pope. This is about a young girl who is a lady-in-waiting to Princess Elizabeth while Mary is queen, and essentially she gets exiled for being on Princess Elizabeth's side, and she goes to stay in a castle, kind of like in exile. She's kind of a prisoner there. She's not allowed to leave. And such happens. I'm down to keep this. I kind of want to read it. I'm like curious. I'm kind of curious. It's just like what it's like. The first chapter intrigued me. It wasn't like the best thing I'd ever read, but like I want to keep it. I want to read it. I want to see. I remember being very attached to this as a child. I don't remember why. I just remember that I was. So after all of that, these are the 5 books that I will be keeping. Which is a lot better than the, other 11 that I'm unhauling, which are over here. That stack of books right there is everything I'm unhauling. I don't really know what the point of this was, but you got to see my cat. That's always a win. It's always a win whenever little Spleen shows up. She's being so cuddly now that it's cold outside. But I will be reading all of these eventually. I might possibly be unhauling them after I read them, but we'll see. All of them intrigued me. So let me know down below if you've read any of these, either the ones I'm keeping or the ones I'm getting rid of. Again, most of them are fairly old middle grade, so I don't know. Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.